Welcome back to the Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. I'm pleased to be joined by Jenny Berg, who is the president-elect of Impact 100, one of the many great nonprofits here in the city of Cincinnati. Jenny, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate having you.
I appreciate being on the show. Thanks, Jack.
Congratulations on your recent election to once again take the reins of Impact 100. That your new term starts next year.
Yes, it does.
Why don't we start off by sort of letting people know what is Impact 100, broadly speaking?
So Impact 100 is a women's philanthropy group, and we do what's called collective giving. So as a group of women, we donate funds into a pool that ultimately goes into our grant pool, and all that is pulled together, and for the past 10 years we have contributed $400,000 in the form of $100,000 grants, so 4 grants, each $100,000, to our nonprofit community. And it's a process, it's a long process of vetting the organizations, learning more about them, and hearing what their story is and what their need is, what the challenge is, so that we as members can then review those grants and applications, and then we will select, in this case, four grantees to receive that $100,000.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it's a really sort of unique angle, a premise for a nonprofit, where this started as a group of women that wanted to pool their money to be able to support causes and organizations that they all sort of agreed on. This was Wendy Steele got this started, right?
Yes, Wendy Steele is our founder, and she really came up with this idea before 9/11.
Right.
So imagine she wanted to make a bigger difference in philanthropy. You know, she was writing the small checks here and there, but not really wondering whether they made a difference. And so her idea was, if I could get 100 women to each donate $1,000, have a $100,000 grant to award to a nonprofit, that makes a transformational difference. And so that was the idea. She was very successful. She had 123 women who became members, the first founding members of Impact 100. And the first grant recipient was the McMicken Dental Clinic. They have a different name now, but It was the McMicken Dental Clinic, who their executive director was able to buy brand new dental equipment that helped provided dignity to the people getting the services, provide new smiles, which, you know, helps in job development and personal development and all kinds of things. So that was a wonderful initial grant.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about transformational giving. It doesn't necessarily have to be, I mean, that's a big word that sort of implies big, grandiose things. But I mean, honestly, the idea of new equipment for a dental office that's helping people in an area, that is absolutely transformational.
Yeah, we often talk about the breadth or the depth of our grants. Sometimes they help a lot of people. Sometimes they go deeper and help fewer people, but both have transformational impact.
So she started this just before 9/11, meaning that now this is roughly the 25th year that the organization has been around. You've been involved since when?
So I found out about Impact 100 because I was board chair of Tender Mercies, which is a nonprofit in Over the Rhine that provides permanent housing for formerly homeless, mentally ill men and women. And so I was board chair, and our executive director, Marcia Spaeth, looked at that grant, found out about the Impact 100 grant, and said, let's apply. So she went through the process, and then she proceeded through the process and became a finalist. There were 5 finalists that year. And then I went to the event, and I remember being overwhelmed with, like, wow, this is a really great idea, as I learned more about it. And there was 5 finalists, and then those were the early days, so there was no electronic voting or anything like that, which we have now.
Was it like people were sitting in the room and raising their hands?
No, not quite that. There was a paper ballot, because you had to make it legitimate, so there was a paper ballot, and then the ballots were counted overnight. And the next day she called me as the board chair and said, we got it. So at that time the grant was $184,000, which is the largest grant Impact has ever awarded.
Oh, wow.
Because when we get to $100,000, we then split into another grant. So we weren't quite to $200,000 at that time. This was, again, just its second year, so the word wasn't out yet about Impact 100, but they were able to receive $184,000, raise $184,000, which was the largest grant that Impact has ever awarded.
Yeah.
So Tender Mercies received that.
And that's a tremendous amount of money that can go so far in helping
Absolutely.
all sorts of people. What about with the idea that this is a collective of women who are, united and get together and meet, and the idea of pooling the money versus what Wendy was doing before and writing various, checks and making donations to different outfits. The power of people getting together like this.
Absolutely, and that is proven. There's been many, many research studies on collective giving, and it is multiplying by a tremendous factor every year. But at that time, it wasn't happening much. There were some giving circles that had started in 1995. There was a Washington Women's Foundation that was started by Colleen Willoughby. That was one of the first ones, and Colleen actually was in. Remember People magazine? She was featured in People magazine. And then when Wendy started Impact 100 Cincinnati, she also was featured in People magazine. And so the idea was, let's make a difference. Let's make a bigger difference. Let's find out how the money that we're donating is being used. And so she really hesitated because it was right before 9/11, and then 9/11 happened. Should we start this? Should we do this? And she said, if not now, when? And if not us, who? And so she went ahead and started the model.
Yeah, boy, what a wild thing to happen, to throw such a weird curveball into such important plans. What is it for you that's so important about the idea that this is a women-centric group?
Well, I think it gives women an opportunity and a voice to really use their philanthropic dollars to better the community, to learn about the community, meet other women doing the same thing. It's wonderful to have a large group of women with a common thread of everyone wanting to give back. So you don't find our group of women that are cliquey or anything else that sometimes women's groups might be known for.
Okay.
But we are very open to anyone who wants to be in the world of philanthropy, and we believe anybody can have access to that. And so we've changed over the years. We've changed our entry point for giving into $500 and up, and then every person that contributes that can receive a vote in order to make the final selection. So women have. Through collective giving, there's greater joy, there's greater learning about the community, who serves the needs in the community, and so many of our members have gone on to become board members, volunteers, donors, connecting points for other nonprofits. And I think that is just such a wonderful ripple effect of the idea of this model.
Yeah, something that we talk a lot about on this show is the idea of knowing somebody who knows somebody and being able to connect and finding connections with other people and then growing from there. That can happen whether it's the direct beneficiary of the Impact 100 outfit or not.
Yeah.
And, looking at the different groups that have benefited from the giving from the group, you guys really run the gamut. It's things like Tender Mercies and this dental outfit that you were talking about. It's businesses, it's arts organizations. You guys really cover it all. Yeah,
there's so many nonprofits, as you led into this feature, so many different nonprofits doing so many wonderful things, and we have funded arts organizations, environmental organizations. I was just at the Cincinnati Reuse and Recycle Hub last week, donating all of our recycle stuff that they will take. They were one of our grantees.
Yeah.
And I've seen Impact 100s who are volunteers there, and other Impact 100 members that I know that go there. It's a small organization, but with our grant, they were able to really expand their hours and things like that. So we've funded larger organizations like the Free Store Food Bank twice, actually. They've received Harvest Mobile Market, so they were able to take food out into the food desert areas, and we helped them expand. Their first grant was to help them expand to the Power Pack program, which is packing
the bagged lunches,
stable ready or shelf ready, I think they call it, foods to go into the lunches for the kids to take home on the weekends and things like that.
Yeah.
So large organizations like Free Store, St. Vincent de Paul, we funded their charitable pharmacy, and that expanded their hours, and now that has just exploded into a wonderfully large charitable pharmacy with over 18 million prescriptions valued. And then there's other ones, Price Hill Will in the Price Hill area, and there's another one that we did on Community Matters that was a laundromat, because there was no laundromat in the area. So there's a laundry desert in a way. So we were able to fund them too, and they had a person within the community that ran the laundromat. So just some really wonderful, there's over 70 organizations that we've awarded $100,000 grants to. So
how often does that happen? I mean, clearly a lot, because you were able to rattle off a whole bunch there.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, how often are you driving around or stopping in a place knowing, hey, this was an outfit that we were able to help out?
Well, we have funded a number of vehicles. So often there's our Impact 100 logo,
Okay.
our old logo. We have a different logo now, but on those trucks and vehicles, people talk about us and we talk about them just in a lot of different ways. We have many nonprofit members that are now Impact members. I mean, they were on the nonprofit that may have received a grant, or perhaps they didn't even receive the grant, and they were on that organization, but they love the idea.
Yeah.
Just like me walking in as
That's
a
your
board member,
story.
it's the same story.
Yeah.
So you kind of drink the Kool-Aid, and it's great to be part of really helping out the community.
Yeah, clearly many such
Yeah.
cases. You guys have a number of events coming up. There's the Spread the Word, which is tomorrow in Loveland/Sims Township. That's pretty well wrapped up. Maybe registration's still going on for that.
Registration is still open for that. That's at my home, and so that's we're having, because I have such a strong relationship with Tender Mercies, having served on their board, and then them receiving the Impact Grant 23 years ago. They are our key speaker. We always try to bring back, have a mission moment, and have one of our recipients come back and talk about our events, because we want everyone else to hear the story that we're often hearing about, the impact that our grant really, how it just leapfrogged them to a different level, or something they couldn't have accomplished before.
Yeah.
Because $100,000 is quite a lot.
That's not change.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
that's not chump change.
No.
That's making change, transformational change.
So yes, we have that event, and then the following week we have our Meet the Finalists. So we'll have 7 finalists that will be announced, and anyone is welcome to come to that. You do not have to be an Impact 100 member, but it's a great way to learn about the organization, who our finalists will be, and really celebrate them. And
Yeah.
really, they've put a lot of hard work into, they have to complete a letter of interest, and then our members review those. Then they complete, if they get invited back to complete a full grant application, there's that process. And then we go on site visits to a small number of groups. So we start off with a lot of applicants in the
Sure.
LOI phase, and then we ended up with this number.
So this is the big event. This is the
next biggest event. There's
Okay.
2. So the Meet the Finalist is the opportunity to really celebrate all those finalists and all their hard work. And then we have a little bit of time off where we partner those finalists with a very wonderful pro bono woman, Lisa Brown, who helps coach those nonprofit leaders to do a video like we're doing today. So then the videos are made, and then those are shared with our members, who all have the opportunity to vote. And after reviewing the videos and reviewing the printed executive summaries that we have for each of those finalists.
So this is like a pitch video.
Yes, it is a
Okay.
pitch video, but they get coaching along the way, and they
Sure.
can use this video for many other opportunities besides Impact 100. So
Yeah.
it really is a nice kind of gift back to them, and then we all get to hear that. And then at our annual awards celebration, which this year is at Music Hall, right next door, on September 15th, and we'll really be celebrating our 25th anniversary, and then we will be making an announcement of the recipients prior to that, but we really have an opportunity that night to celebrate those recipients, as well as our 25th anniversary, and talk about our evolution as an organization.
Sure.
And how much we've grown, and now we have by that time we will have awarded over $8.1 million back into the community.
Jenny, that's
in
a
the form of
tremendous
script
amount of
grants.
money that is coming from a collective, a grassroots group of folks that
Absolutely.
regularly gets together to meet. That's a tremendous amount of money.
And we've done a lot of, as part of our 25th, we've done a lot of analysis of our members, and our average member is over 7.5 years, which for most membership type-based organizations of any kind, that's pretty good. So we feel good about that. And also we have, I think I counted up that there's over 2,500 members that have unique members, because some people might join one year, perhaps they don't the next year, and they go back and forth. But there's 2,500 women that have been members
Wow.
over our, coincidentally, over our 25
Over
years.
over that period
and
of
we
time.
have many who have been members all 25 years.
That's
Some
a
of our
long
founding
history.
members have been members 25 years, and
That's
it's
a long
wonderful.
history, and that's a lot of good that's been done over the decades. We are going to take a break. When we get back, we'll have more with Jenny Berg of Impact 100, talking about her history with all the different organizations that she's involved with. More on that coming up. You're watching The Working Lunch on the Crown. Welcome back to The Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. I am joined by Jenny Berg, the president-elect of Impact 100, a group of women that gets together to collectively pool their money and support various organizations, businesses, you name it, in the city. Transformational giving on a group level, on a collective level, that I think really does some wonderful things around here. Jenny, I think you said it to me before the interview started. You've got a passion for nonprofits and supporting organizations. Do you know, is there a specific place where that comes from for you?
Well, yes. It started when I was working with my family business, Al Nyer Incorporated at the time. And we had set up a foundation. And
that Nyer Foundation.
A Nyer Foundation, that 10% of our profits from Al Nyer would go into a foundation, and then we had a group of people within the office that we'd get submittals into, and we'd evaluate, what we wanted to give to. So that's kind of where it started. But I come from a family of very engaged community builders, and my parents were big examples for me of how to be philanthropic. They didn't necessarily use those words, but they just led by example. And my father was very involved on a number of boards, nonprofit boards, over the years. I think he said when he retired he was on 17 boards. Now, I don't know how anybody does that. But that's what he said. Well, he may have stretched it a bit. But,
you're no slouch either. Well, I'm sorry, I was stalking your LinkedIn page, and you've got a listing on there of the Free Store Food Bank and Leadership Council, all sorts of organizations. This is how Impact 100 works. You've got people, and then they have their membership. There's hundreds of members, leading to $400,000 grants, going for 25 years, $7.7 million listed on the site. 71 grants. You guys do multiple events. I really do think this idea of transformational giving from a collective standpoint is really interesting and unique. And the idea, too, of, you've got a Young Philanthropists event coming up at Oakley Greens. That's going to be this Thursday. How important is it? You were talking about how you were sort of shown the way of giving and the importance of philanthropy. How important is it to induct and bring young philanthropists into the group?
It's very important. And people think of philanthropists often, and you don't have to be Bill Gates or Warren Buffett to be a philanthropist. So again, informing people what it means to be a philanthropist is just getting engaged in nonprofits generally and supporting them, whether it's your time, talent, treasure, ties, and testimony, all those ways to be involved. And those may change over time. So you might go in as a volunteer working for a nonprofit that's much needed. So many volunteer hours are needed within the nonprofits. And then as you get more engaged, perhaps it's serving on an ambassador board or a young philanthropist board or a junior boards. They're called different things. So there's different ways to get engaged. And being on a board of a nonprofit gives you so many opportunities to lead in different ways than you might do in your work.
And support a thing that you care about.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I found why I'm so involved and engaged in board work, is because I've met so many wonderful people who have led me to other connections to other things that are of interest to me, but I've also had an opportunity to lead in different ways than I had an opportunity to do at work. And I told you on the phone earlier that all roads lead to Impact 100 in my world, between the Family Foundation and then being on the board of Tender Mercies, which introduced Impact 100 to me. And then as I got more invested and became a member and was asked to join the board of Impact 100, which I did in 2006, and then served 2 terms, 2 3-year terms, and then became president in 2009. I was also in Leadership Cincinnati class. That connected me with more people. And that opened doors for me in other ways. And right about that time in late 2011, an opportunity opened to work for an organization called Leadership Council for Nonprofits. Had a different name at the time, but it was a nonprofit-based organization of the members were all nonprofits. And I'm like, well, I got this.
This is like the Justice League of nonprofits.
Impact 100 is a membership-based organization supporting nonprofits. Leadership Council is a membership-based organization supporting nonprofits. So I was a good fit for me, and was able to grow the organization to over a couple hundred members, nonprofit members. And it really was such a great pipeline because I knew so many of them through my work with Impact 100, and was able to share with them opportunities that Leadership Council still has, and then I retired doing that for 10 years, and I retired after that. But it's been so great to be able to serve. That's where my board connections have come from. Many following other Impact members, honestly. I have been on a board with a fellow founding Impact member. She and I have served on 3 different boards together. And so it's we just trust each other. We got to know each
And
other,
you find that connection.
and find that connection. And probably all the boards I have been on with Impact 100 members, which is awesome.
Is it a difficult sell when you're talking about like young philanthropists and trying to get new people involved? Philanthropist, like you said, sounds it's got such an air to it that maybe it makes it seem more complicated than what it is. But is it a difficult sell to have young people understand that this isn't about having a ton of money, and the idea of being able to support, like you said, whether it's your time or your treasure, you have a lot of different options out there.
Yeah, we use the words we're helping to democratize philanthropy.
Yeah.
So that is something I think most people, young people too, can relate to help them realize it doesn't have to be, again, millions, billions, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands. It can be as simple $10 a week or $10 a month. And that you can be a philanthropist than that. Well, I remember when my youngest daughter was, selling lemonade at the stand. That was a way to teach her to be a philanthropist, and we dropped the money off at Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of opportunities, but I think the other outside benefits that one might not realize by becoming a philanthropist is just the community that you get involved in and become aware of.
Right.
Impact 100 is a wonderful opportunity for especially our young women to be connected with a lot of wonderful working women, women that stay at home, women that are retired, women, our age range is early 20 to early 90s. And so it's not often you find a group that you can fit into and feel like you belong in a multi-generational type of an area. So that's another beauty of collective giving, is really attracts anyone who wants to give back to their community, in their time, in their talent.
And being able to network with other folks and find connections that then continue benefiting all these variety of causes. I think I know the answer to this question because I think you've been demonstrating it for so much of the interview, but you went to Miami University with a marketing degree.
I did.
And I was going to ask how what you learned in that marketing degree sort of fuels what you're doing, but I think it's case in point, right? You being able to talk about it and let people know the importance of all this stuff.
Yeah, and it's about making connections and letting others experience the joy of giving. That's really what it's all about. And so that marketing, I guess I am putting that into play a little bit more as I've talked to people, because you can hopefully see my passion and how it's led me into basically a career in retirement and of serving the nonprofits. That's what I love to do.
I think you saying the word retirement is an interesting moment because you're clearly so active with various groups. Again, like we said, Free Store Food Bank, you got Impact 100, Leadership Council. That doesn't seem like you have a whole heck of a lot of free time.
Well, you forgot St. Vincent de Paul.
St. Vincent de Paul, which we had Caitlin Lanehart on recently.
Yes, you
Shout
did.
out to Caitlin.
Yes, and I enjoy all that work, and I was leading the search committee for Free Store Food Bank for our new CEO. So that was a wonderful process, and just getting to know those board members that were on that committee better. So and finding out what the needs are in the community. So I highly recommend and. Going back to Leadership Council, where I was the executive director, we took over a board training program from United Way when they were having some challenges with it. And so we took that over because I felt very confident that we could do it and we could make it work. And people need to understand that if you go on a board, you need to know what you're doing. So Leadership Council has had that BOLD program now for, I think it's 2019. And it's carrying on. And it's a wonderful opportunity to learn more about how to be a board member and what that really means. And because we need great board members around this community, we need younger folks, we need people of color, we need everyone to get involved in their boards.
Well, being able to effectively lead your organization in a way that's not going to run afoul of all the regulations.
Right.
I mean, there's a ton of banking regulations, government regulations when it comes to how the money that someone chooses to give to you is allowed to be used. You got to make sure you're playing by the rules. Yeah,
we often have nonprofit leaders go through that BOLD program so that they can learn whether they want to achieve being an executive director or no matter what level they're at. It's a way to understand why the board's asking these questions, things like that. But
Jenny, what's your sense of the piece that I talked about before with where the Enquirer was listing all these nonprofits that have taken the time to build out new facilities? The piece really did go into quite a bit of detail on the state of some buildings that some of these outfits were in that was just deteriorating, and how this new space offers them new credibility, new ways to expand their services. You've been swimming in these waters for a long time. What is your sense on that?
Well, I don't think anybody's building just for the heck of building.
Yeah.
I can tell you with Free Store's new building down there on the river, it's a beautiful facility and it's utilized and it just allows a better functioning of how to distribute the food. And the same thing with St. Vincent de Paul. Their original building was, I think, 1860 something. So, you can imagine how that takes a lot of money to upkeep. And so we had the opportunity to build the building across the street, the Nier Outreach Center. And so it's a wonderful, it's totally used. It's always people in there, and that's where we have our pantry and we have our intake folks where we help people, determine what their needs are, and that's where our charitable pharmacy is one of them. And so it's Cincinnati Eye Institute is upstairs, as well as an RN that we can get, wraparound services for folks
that
need eye care and
offer.
nursing and things like that. So there are a lot of needs. I don't think anybody's doing it willy-nilly and they're not wasting funds. There's a definite need that for expansion, and the needs have continued to increase around the community. I mean, I know when St. Vincent de Paul built their pantry, it was built for 35 people to come through, and now it's at 150 people.
Yeah.
Same with Free Store. I mean, the needs have just continued to increase as costs have increased, and people are making very challenging decisions between, do I eat? Do I get my medicines? Do I pay rent? And utilities? And Free Store and St. Vincent de Paul are doing both in the rent and utilities assistance, doing a great job at that.
I think it's a physical representation of just how much people are willing to put their money where their mouth is, and really let's dig in and find something that can really expand our services and help people. Jenny, what does it mean to you to be the president-elect of Impact 100 now? 25 years this group has been going. The sense of stewardship that you're a part of this group and several others, this thing that was here before and that you're continuing to move on.
Well, since I've been a member for so long, 23 years, and I wanted to be very involved in the 25th anniversary and setting us up for success. So we have a fundraising campaign that will help us achieve what we want to achieve with expansion and growth and tying in innovation in our work, because we like any other business, needs to continually innovate, and we also got to make sure that we have a strong infrastructure in what we do. So I wanted to be, I voluntold myself that I'd be happy to be the president next year, and already planning on succession after me, so that's important as well. But just to help take the organization hopefully to even further, with all the support of all the other wonderful board members that are on Impact's board. And we have a lot of past board members who are dedicated volunteers doing wonderful things that we couldn't do without them.
Jenny Berg is the president-elect of Impact 100. The finalists' projects will be presented in June 18th. So coming up in a few weeks, we'll let you know who benefits from that. Keep things connected on there. Jenny, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Working Lunch coming up after this. You're watching The Crown. Stick around.